If you're craving some top shelf cheddar, you're in luck because our Sticky Puck panel is buzzing this morning. Rotowire's Paul Bruno, AJ Scholz, along with DraftKings contributor Geoff Ulrich. 6 games on the slate, guys. We're going to start with a little knuckle puck here. Hook me up with a value play this evening, Geoff. One that you're just really enjoying.
Really enjoying Mikael Backlund of the Calgary Flames. You know, I don't think Mikael Backlund gets enough love. Everyone talks about this big first line at Calgary. But, I mean, Backlund, all he does is he's under 4K on DraftKings. He produces, man. The guy's averaging 4 shots on net over his last 10 games. That alone at 3,900, that's got to pique your interest. I mean, averaging 10 DraftKings points over that same span. Yes, he doesn't produce at the same rate in the points department as the Calgary first line, as Elias Lindholm, their first line center. But, I mean, if Backlund picks us up a point tonight against Vegas, his shot on goal rate, everything else he does is going to get us there. I just like backing the Calgary offense in general. So when you can get a piece of their cheap players, whether it's on defense or with Backlund at center, I think it's really good value right now. Their offense is cooking, and it's a good way to kind of pair with a more elite center by using Backlund tonight.
All right, AJ, who do you like for value play?
Well, prior to the All-Star break, Filip Zadina had racked up 3 points in his previous 4 contests at a bottom price of $2,500. You're getting a first-line winger here going up against a Flyers team that has been a nightmare, allowing 3.29 goals per game this season. It's a great matchup and really gives you a good opportunity to use the wings, something that we don't say too often on this show. And with that low price tag, you can easily pair him with Dylan Larkin. Similarly, I also like Dylan Strohm for the Blackhawks tonight at 3,900. He's playing with Kane, and they're going to face Stuart Skinner with the Oilers tonight. Mikko Koskinen is in the COVID-19 protocol, so they're going to use Stuart Skinner tonight instead. So another good shot to use the Hawks against really an AHL goalie.
What do you want to do in the value department, Paul?
I'm afraid this is going to be the second day in a row that AJ and I are on the same wavelength. I'm going to give you 2 other names. So I'm drawn to Elias Pedersen, who's listed as a left winger tonight for Vancouver. He only costs $3,700. He's been priced at twice that much not so long ago. He's had a bit of trouble getting on track, but 9 points in his last 10 games played. He's listed as a center on the third line, according to Rotowire's depth chart, but he's still going to get power play time. 9 points in his last 10 games played. Feature on the power play. That's got to be more than good enough to cover the $3,700 in Van City tonight. I also like Chicago's Brandon Hagel, who's playing right wing minutes on the second line and is also featured on their top power play unit with some of the big boys there. He's chipped in 4 goals and 4 helpers, along with 21 shots on goal in his last 10 tilts. He costs only $3,500 tonight.
All right, now are those value plays like enough to sneak McDavid or Draisaitl in the lineup at center, AJ? The Oilers are on the second half of back-to-back here. You fading them or paying up?
I'm going to fade them. There's just so many question marks about the Oilers right now that the price tags are too big for these guys. Like I said, Stuart Skinner is going to be the goaltender tonight, so I'm not really loving the Oilers here and their chances on having a good game. So I kind of tipped my hand to this already, but I think Dylan Larkin is worth a serious look at 7,500 given that matchup. And then further down the price range, Jared McCann is going up, and Seattle are going up against the Coyotes. He's at just 5,900 here, and that's a steal. 4 goals and 3 helpers in his last 6 games and poised for another big night. I should also mention that Arizona is going to use Vejmelka in back-to-back nights. That's despite him giving up 5 goals to the Canucks last night. They're going to use him at 2 games in a row, which is pretty rare, especially with such a bad performance. They don't really have another option. Scott Wedgwood is still dealing with an injury, so they're kind of have their hands tied here. And so I think it's a good opportunity, again, to use Seattle, a team that we haven't talked about a ton this season.
All right, Paul, you going to pay up for these 2 dudes?
No, without upsetting my friend Jeff, I still don't like the fact that this team put up a feeble effort last night against the Golden Knights, and I have to see more than what they've done in the last few games. It combined for 5 points, the 2 big boys in Edmonton, in their last 4 games played. They should each be able to do that. on their better days. Throw in the fact that a rested Chicago team comes to town with Marc-Andre Fleury in the nets. That's a mismatch and a half in the nets. I'm surprised AJ didn't harp on that, but I will. Stuart Skinner up from the minors to fill in the net at the other side. The Hawks are struggling too in the recent starts, but the goaltending will be the difference tonight, and the Flower will tip the scales there. I also agree with the look on Dylan Larkin. He's been on a heater of late with 7 goals and 12 points, along with 38 shots on goal in his last 10, and faces the struggling Flyers. That pick costs $7,500. I think it makes more sense to me than the Edmonton Big Boys.
Geoff, these are your guys.
Yeah, I mean, look, Stuart Skinner in net, he's probably going to be an upgrade over Mike Smith, and he's not on the power play. You know, I mean, it's not a big deal here if whoever's starting a net for Edmonton. I wouldn't mind seeing Skinner put in 6 goals, because it'll just mean McDavid or Draisaitl will have to be shooting the puck more. I don't know. I mean, I feel like the Oilers kind of got embarrassed last night, and you're likely going to see a pretty big bounce back. This is also the Chicago Blackhawks we're talking about. 6th worst power play in the league, 8th most goals against. It's a pretty solid matchup, and I mean, I like Larkin too, but let's not compare apples to oranges here. I mean, the upside with Draisaitl and McDavid is still there. I would probably just pay up for McDavid, because I do feel like there would be a lot of people thinking in this kind of line tonight. You can still pair him with Evander Kane fairly cheaply. I mean, Kane's still coming in under $6K. McDavid and Kane obviously playing together on the regular, at regular strength. You're probably going to see Evander Kane mixing in on the power play too. So all things considered, people going to stay off McDavid here. I would get on it. I just feel like this is such a different matchup than what we saw last night. I'm not shocked that the Vegas Golden Knights clean the Oilers' clocks, but again, we got the Blackhawks here, and it's not like the Avalanche or the Golden Knights again or the Flames. It's the Blackhawks. I think you got to pay up for one of Connor or Leon.
All right, who's the best wing option tonight, though, Paul? You got 2 dudes north of $8,000 and Gaudreau and Pacioretty.
I'm going to go a little bit below that, and I'm finding 2 guys in the same game. I normally don't go this route, but they're compelling stories. Philip Forsberg, the hottest shooter from the wing that'll play tonight among all wingers, I think, for my money. He has 10 goals and 5 helpers in his last 10 games, along with 30 shots on goal. Even throw in 7 blocks to average 16.7 DraftKings points per game over his last 10 outings. He faces a Dallas club that's given up 10 goals over the last 3 starts. Forsberg costs only $6,200 tonight, despite all those big numbers. I also like the way Joe Pavelski's been carrying himself with 5 goals and 10 helpers in his last 10, and he had such an impressive showing at the All-Star game. I know that these guys are opposing each other tonight, but they can both be productive in what I think could be a very high-scoring tilt. And so I'm waiting for that and hoping that it pays off.
Geoff, what are you doing in the wings and things department?
Yeah, I mean, look, Forsberg should definitely be a guy you have a lot of interest in tonight. At the same time, I mean, we've talked about the Detroit Red Wings top line, right? So Tyler Bertuzzi coming in quite a bit cheaper than Philip Forsberg at $5,800. And I mean, the one thing about this slate, there's some ugly teams on here, but that creates really good matchups. I mean, the Philadelphia Flyers, I mean, I was giving the Blackhawks some jabs there, but I mean, the Flyers are worse. I mean, they're a better matchup. Bertuzzi in this Detroit top line too, people forget, I mean, they're such a good stacking option in DFS. It produced the 6th most goals scored just in terms of line production as a unit. So, you can pair Bertuzzi with Larkin if you're going that route. 5,800. I also think Evander Kane. I mean, look, you can hate Evander Kane all you want, or you don't like the move for the Oilers, but I mean, he has come out of the gates kind of running. I mean, 5 shots on goal again last night, 2 goals in 4 games. I mean, he's playing with Connor McDavid, obviously. So lots of cheap options on the wing, and these are very productive fantasy players. Forsberg, Kane, Bertuzzi. I think you have to roster 2 of those guys, quite frankly, because all of them are too cheap, and they allow you to pay up at the center position.
AJ, who's your winger tonight?
I'm going to look at some guys that Geoff kind of alluded to, and that's the Flames going up against the Golden Knights tonight, as Geoff said. They're on the second of a back-to-back, so we're likely going to see Laurent Brossoit between the pipes, so that improves the matchup for Calgary here. I'll go all the way up for Johnny Gaudreau at $8K and Tkachuk at 7,500 respectively. For his part, Tkachuk has cooled a little bit heading into the All-Star break, which is 1 point in his last 4 games, but he was still shooting the puck in those contests. So I'll stick with him there in tonight's slate. I think it's a good opportunity for both guys to get back on track here and really start rolling.
All right, guys, quick here, please, on Slate Approved Pick. We're going to go to the sportsbook side. Give us your favorite bet for this 6-game slate, Geoff.
I'm going to do something I never do, and I'm going to back the Philadelphia Flyers. Carter Hart is just playing really, really well. He's had 2 really strong games in a row here. And I mean, look, it's the Philadelphia Flyers. They're not that good, but I think with the goaltending edge that they have here, I mean, the Detroit Red Wings just, allowed too many goals. So I'm going to take the Flyers at home, -115.
AJ.
Well, Emerson, I was looking for the Brad Marchand suspension over-under prop on the DK Sportsbook. No sign of it, though. But
nope.
Instead, I'll look at the game parlays, and I like the Flames and over 5.5 at +190 here for some decent value.
Yeah, he does have an in-person hearing for the Penguins incident today. Paul.
I like the Blackhawks over Edmonton tonight and happily take the +160 bet on the money line. A coaching change is coming, Geoff. I'm sorry, buddy.
Oh, good. I hope it is.
I also take the Wings at -110 on the money line. In the pick'em game, I see this as a game where the Wings will be happy to trade chances and trust their skilled players to overcome the inept defense and goaltending of the home side this evening.